And Daniel looks at Nebuchadnezzar and he says, "You are the head of gold. You're the most valuable world empire this world will ever know. From you, it goes down." The second world empire, if you're looking at the notes I placed here, was the Medo-Persian Empire, the Medo-Persians. If you don't know who they were, they divided. There was a northern and a southern kingdom to the Medo-Persians. That constitutes the neck and the chest of this image. Can you visualize that with me tonight? Then the Medo-Persians, or the Silver Kingdom, was followed by a brass kingdom. It's the Greek Empire. And the Greeks lost their morals. The Greeks became inconsiderate of everything holy and righteous, and the Greeks are represented in this image by the abdomen of brass. And it is not as heavy as the silver or the gold, neither it is as valuable as the silver or the gold. And then the Greek Empire gave way to what could be classified as the Alexandrian age, and the Alexandrians, or the Greek Alexandrians, they broke up. They had 4 generals, and those 4 generals became the captains or the generals of the 4 sections of the known world at the time. And morals began to decay, and work ethic began to decay, and battles became longer and harder because people's nationality and patriotism began to fade during the days of the Greek rule. Daniel here says that's the iron section. And then the Alexandrian Greek Empire developed into what we're probably more familiar with, the Roman Empire. And the Romans were perverts. They were politicians instead of being nationalists. They wanted to debate. So the Romans developed a Senate, and the Senate turned into this body of people that would get together and debate policy. And instead of winning wars, they're debating about whether we should go or shouldn't go, or whether we should participate or not participate. And so what happened was they sacrificed their soldiers on the front lines while their politicians debated behind the curtains. Does that sound familiar? It's amazing how a politician can pontificate and sit up in Washington on his perch and send our soldiers to do things that they would never intentionally do themselves. You see how our world has culturally gotten weaker, less valuable, less committed, and lighter. And it comes down to the division of the Roman Empire. You'll notice that the statue is perfect because the Roman Empire section has 2 legs. You see it? That's because they divided the Roman Empire into east and west. Those 2 legs are connected to 2 feet down at the very bottom. And the metal evolution that we see here goes from gold to silver to brass to iron, and ultimately it winds up iron and clay. Now there's something interesting about the chemistry of iron and clay. They do not mix. Clay will not bond to iron. It just won't. Clay will only bond to clay. And iron and clay, when you mix them together, what you have chemistry-wise is a very weak building material. That golden empire, if you're looking at your image, that Babylonian empire has come and gone. That Medo-Persian silver empire has come and gone. That Greek brass empire and that Alexandrian and Roman iron empires, they have come and gone. They have lived and died. There is only one empire in Daniel's Colossus that has not come into existence yet, and that is this iron clay empire. What is it? You'll notice at the very bottom of your image that this Colossus is hoisted up on top of a pedestal, and somebody please tell me out loud, what is the number on that pedestal? You're familiar with that, aren't you? 636, as it is called in Scripture. Let me help you with that number. The number 1 is the number of unity. The number 2 is the number of division. The number 3 is the number of Trinity. The number 4 is the number of power. The number 5 is the number of grace. The number 7 is the number of perfection. The number 8 is the number of new beginnings. We could go on. But the number 6, somebody help me, what is that number? That's the number of man. We know that because man was created during creation week on the 6th day. We also know that because in the 10 Commandments, they are not divided 5 and 5. They are divided, help me with the numbers here, 4 and 6. 4 of those commandments toward God. Thou shalt have no other gods before me. Thou shalt not make unto thee any graven image. Thou shalt not take the name of the Lord thy God in vain, and remember the Sabbath to keep it holy. That's the first table. The last table contains how many commandments? 6. 6 is the number of man. And all 6 of those commandments on table 2 have to do with man's relationships. Thou shalt not bear false witness against thy neighbor. Thou shalt not commit adultery. Thou shalt not steal. You remember those 6 commandments? So 6, consistently through Scripture, is the number of man. And this final global empire has a personality that is going to manifest himself, and this personality is the best man can make. He's not just 6, but he is 666. In comparison, Jesus has no numerical assignment. God is holy, holy, holy. Antichrist is unholy, unholy, unholy. God is divine, divine, divine. Antichrist is man, man, man. The number 636 is the mathematical way that Antichrist chose to describe himself. And the numerology does not stop there. You're going to notice that there are 2 feet. They're made of iron and clay in your diagram. 2 feet. You're also going to notice that these are a mixture of iron and clay. And Antichrist will be a self-proclaimed amalgamation of everything strong and everything weak. Iron, very strong. Now wait a minute, let's compare them again. I don't want to lose anybody. Please don't let me lose you. If I feel like I'm losing you, I'm going to come sit right in your lap until I know you've got this. Out of all of these metals here, which one is the softest? Gold. Right? So the more valuable it is, the softer. The next piece of metal, silver, is harder than gold. The next material, brass, is harder than silver as far as it being brittle. Am I right? The next piece of material, iron, is harder than brass. And then we get to this clay business. Now, when God made man on day 6, He did not make him out of iron. He did not make him out of gold. Am I right? He did not make him out of silver. He made him out of what? He made him out of clay. Breathed into his nostrils the breath of life, and man became a living soul. So this clay foot, these clay feet, iron clay mixed, are the attempted combination of every strength that man has to offer, iron, compensating for every weakness that man suffers from, clay. And the Antichrist is going to be the perfect combination of those two things. He will be noticeably human, but he will also be strong. He's the strongest human ever.